Hi everyone, it's Aga from EurekaCrystalBeads.com and I'm here with a super fun technique video for you today. But before I get started, just a quick reminder to check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and don't forget about the notification bell so you always know when we post new content. In today's video, I'll talk about a right angle weave, which is a basic stitch. It's really worth knowing, but some beaders say it's difficult, they don't know how to learn it, but I think it's like riding a bike. Once you learn it, you cannot unlearn it. And let me show you in the most beginner-friendly and easy way how to do it. Let me also share some fun tips and tricks on how to always end up with right angle weave that's as perfect as it can be. I'll also tell you all about the beads that you can use for right angle weave, the best threads, the best needles. And this is the first video in a series of 3 when I discuss different types of right angle weave. So in this video, I'll be talking about the regular flat right angle weave that will give you a little right angle weave chain or a right angle weave sheet. So it's a 2D stitch. And in the next video, I'll talk about cubic right angle weave, and in the next one about prismatic right angle weave. They're all going to be super easy, and I'll try to make them super quick. So let's go. Alright, so right angle weave, just like the name suggests, is all about right angles. And if you go 4 right angles and put them together, just like when you make 4 same turns, you end up right back where you started. And that's the same when you do a right angle weave, because if you put 4 beads at a right angle on a thread and connect them together, you create a square. And don't these bugle beads demonstrate this perfectly? If you have problems seeing the square in right angle weave, just think of where the thread is going. So the thread in these 4 fire polish beads, they're not exactly, well, they're more round than a line like with the bugle beads. So if you want to imagine the square, you just imagine the thread that's inside them so you can see the thread, or rather imagine the thread going through this bead here, then this bead here, then this bead, and then this bead on the side. And that's what right angle weave is. It's a series of squares stacked together in a line or in a sheet, just like this. Throughout my videos, I will be referring to one square in right angle weave as one unit. I'll try to do that. So this is one unit in bugle beads, and this is one unit in fire polish. And fire polish are the beads that we're going to be using today because they're very easy to work with when it comes to right angle weave. They're great for training, but in the end, I'm also going to show you how to make right angle weave as perfect as it can be with seed beads as well, because they tend to be a little bit tricky and get a little bit wonky and collapsed. First up, let's talk about what kind of beads you can use for right angle weave, and the answer is almost any one whole beads that you have a lot of, because for right angle weave, you mostly use a lot of beads. So here I made this swatch with seed beads. These are 8/0 Tohos, and we're going to be using fire polish, 3mm fire polish today. You can use round beads, you can use bicones, you can use pearls, and actually with bicones, it's even better because they have these angles in them, and they just arrange themselves so nicely when you use them for right angle weave. Now, what kind of thread you can use for right angle weave? Again, you can use any thread that you like. You can use a nylon thread such as 1G or Nymo, but I think the most universally liked thread for right angle weave, especially with 4mm beads, 3mm beads, and 8/0s, will be 6-pound fire line. For 11/0s, I would recommend maybe 4-pound fire line. That will also give you a more flowy effect if you want to make a bracelet, for example, or if you want to use the right angle weave as a base for something else. So you have to have some more space in these beads for more thread passes. Now, what needle you need for right angle weave? Again, most liked, I think, is size 10 because it's quite stiff, it won't break so easily, and it's good for the 6-pound fire line. It has a bigger eye up there. And here I have size 11, which is also great. So size 10 or 11 is best. Alright, enough theory, let's get to practice. So for this one, I'm just going to be using a tiny little bit of fire line because I'm just making a little sample, but you work with any amount of thread that you find comfortable. You're probably going to have to add on more thread as you go if you're making a bracelet or something that's a little bit longer. But for this one, I'm only going to use a little bit. So what you start with for right angle weave, at least the regular right angle weave and the cubic right angle weave, are 4 beads on your thread. Slide them down and go right back up, all 4 beads again. Now we're going to go through this first bead again to close them up, and what you get is a nice little square. Now to make a right angle weave chain, so to keep adding on more units, you're going to be picking up 3 beads because in each unit you want to have 4 of them, and in order to connect them, they're going to have to share one of the beads. So this one that my thread is coming out of is going to be shared. So I pick up 3 beads and I go through this bead from the other side then where my thread is coming out of. And as I pull it tight, I have another unit. Now to add on the next unit after that, I need to find myself coming out of this top bead here so that this can be shared with the next unit. I do it by going up this next bead here and through this bead that I want to be coming out of. And I'm ready to add on 3 new beads to make a 4 bead unit. I'm passing through that same bead again from the other side than where my thread is coming out of. And I have my next unit added. A good thing to remember is to pull tight after each bead that you add or pass through. Again, up into the side through that last bead that I added. And we're ready for the next unit. And you just go on like this for as long as you want, or as thick as you want your bracelet to be if you're making a bracelet, or your sheet if you're making like a picture, a right angle weave picture, because that's also what people do. So it's 4 beads at the start and then 3, 3, 3 all the way. Now let's say I want to make a bracelet and I want it to be this wide. So I want to add more bracelet this way. Or actually I'm gonna go the other way. So I'm gonna be adding this way because that's where my tail thread is coming out of. So I just want to be more comfortable holding on to it in here. So how do you do it so you have more segments over here? Well, you need to go to one of these, the first one of these top beads here, which I'm gonna do by just going around in my square until I'm coming out of the bead on the side where I want to continue with my bracelet or my sheet. And now this will be one side of our 4 bead unit. So what I need to do is add 3 more beads so that there's 4 in total. And I go through it on the opposite side than where my thread is coming out of. Through the next bead in these 4. Down through this next one, and then down this next bead. And now if you'll notice, these 2 beads here already make 2 walls of my 4 wall unit. So I'm going to go through this bead as well. This is a bead from the next unit from our first row. This one. And what I need now is just 2 beads to finish this 4. So I pick up 2 beads and I go down this bead to create a nice 4 unit segment. I go forward the shared bead, the bead that's shared with the previous row. And now I can go up to come out of one of the 2 beads in the next unit that we're adding. again, 2 beads. And now I need to go in here to complete the 4 bead unit. Just like that. I can see these are not connected yet, so I have to do that. And forward to come out of one of the beads in the next 4 bead unit, which is going to be the last one in here. There. And now you can just keep on adding new beads. Now I want to be coming out of the first bead on top in here, so I just go up and through the bead, and I'll add 3 beads now, then I'll go forward, then 2 beads, then down here and here, 2 beads again, and that's how you continue until you've reached your desired length. That's all there is to right angle weave, seriously. Now let's talk a little bit about the tips and tricks on how to make your right angle weave, especially if you're using seed beads, as perfect as it can be. How to prevent these beads from collapsing on themselves and being like all wonky and uneven. So there are some ways you can do this. Of course, everything comes with practice, but let me tell you 4 rules that will help you make your right angle weave really looking great. So the first rule is only go through 1 bead at a time. It's some kind of magic, maybe it's physics, but it does really work. So 1 bead at a time. Don't go through 2 beads or, God forbid, 3 beads, just 1 bead. The second rule is hold on to your unit as you're making it and make sure that you hold on to it as it forms in the right shape and doesn't collapse on itself. The third rule is correct it. If you see a wonky bead, use your fingernail or your needle to correct it and put it into position before you pull your thread tight each time that you go through a bead. And number 4 is reinforce, which is basically going through all of the beads twice. Now let me show you what this means in practice. Let's start with 4 beads. As always, I'll go through them for a second time, and this time I'll also go through them for a third time just to make this first unit a little bit stronger. I'm going through the first bead again, and now you have to pull quite tight to get them together, and see they're already looking pretty nice. I'm gonna go through the next bead as well, just so that both ends of my thread don't come out of the same bead. I'll pick up my 3 next beads, I put them on. I'm going to make sure they look nice, and you can use your fingernail or your needle to put all of them right. Now I'm going to hold on to it and go through the next bead that I'm supposed to be going through with my needle. See, that's how they're collapsing. I put them right, pull tight, and go through the next single bead while holding on to my unit. Now reinforcing means I'm gonna go through all of these beads again, one by one. This takes a little bit more time, but if you want the perfection, you have to sacrifice something. 1 bead at a time, holding on to my unit and pulling my thread tight after every pass. And now it doesn't want to collapse on itself at all. Next 3. Adding them on, just like that, going back to the top, and then going around through all of them again, just to straighten them up and reinforce them. One more thing, when you're pulling on your thread, make sure to always pull in the direction that your thread is coming out of the bead. So don't pull to the side, not like this, because it's getting wonky already, but towards the top. See how I corrected that with my fingernail? Alright, that last bead in the segment. Now let's add one more, 3 beads. Okay, now let's say I'm gonna go to the other side again to avoid both of my ends being on the same side. So I just went around. So I'm coming out of this bead here, and I'm going to continue to the side, adding 3 beads back through this one here, and I'm going to hold on to my segment. And for all the next rows in this piece, you don't have to go through the beads right away, like you don't have to reinforce the beads right away. We're just going to reinforce the entire row later on in a bit of a shortcut. Okay, I'm gonna pass through to find myself ready to add the new segment, a new unit. Notice how I'm passing nicely through one bead only. Right now, when you pass through the next one, it may get a little wonky, so remember to hold on to your segment as you pull. Now adding 2 down through this one here. Correcting. Another 2. Alright, so this is looking pretty great. Not perfect, but see what happens when we reinforce it. So go through some of the beads for a second time. I went up this bead in this last segment, and I'm kind of going back through the row, and I'm going to be making a zigzag. So I'm going down this bead. I'm not going to make a full circle. I'm just going forward through this next bead here. Then this one, you can correct any other bead as you go. Then through this one at the top, down through this one here. And back up and through this first bead to be ready to add the new row again. So as you can see, they are so nicely aligned. Simply perfect. They couldn't be any more perfect. And this works best with Tohos. I do think that it will work with Miyukis as well, but with Tohos, especially 8/0s, it works just perfect. Another thing that you need to remember if you want perfect right angle weave is to choose even beads. So if you choose beads that are, one of them is a little bit thicker, a little bit taller, and the next one is a little bit thinner, then it's not going to look as good. So try to choose beads that are more or less even. So Tohos and Miyukis are the best choice for this one when it comes to seed beads. Alright guys, now you know how to right angle weave. Make sure to check out our other videos on cubic right angle weave and prismatic right angle weave, as well as our tutorial on how to make these lovely earrings, which will be published a week after this video. So all of the other videos will be linked down below in the description. Go to eurekacrystalbeads.com for supplies to make beautiful things with right angle weave. Meanwhile, thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video. Bye!